NPR reaches more than 100 million people across all platforms every month. As public editor, Elizabeth Jensen's job is to help promote transparency in journalism. This as trust in media remains a concern. Joining us now is Elizabeth Jensen. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you, my pleasure.
So what is the role of NPR's public editor?
Well, it's a unique role in journalism. I am the last remaining full-time public editor among mainstream media organizations in the country. My job is to represent the views and the concerns of the listeners and readers who come to listen to NPR and come to npr.org.
As the public editor, you receive tens of thousands of comments.
Yes.
How does NPR handle a perception of bias?
So we do get a lot of complaints about bias. So we get all these. We have an email, contact the public editor. We go through all of the emails. We label all those emails. By far, bias is the biggest concern of those who decide to contact us. It breaks down, so it's both. People are complaining that NPR is too liberal. People are complaining that NPR is too conservative. So it really breaks down, and a lot of it is just perception. NPR has 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours at night. Very few of those listeners are actually hearing all 2 hours. So if you're in your car and you hear an interview and it's with a Republican and you don't hear the interview with the Democrat, then you think, NPR is only talking to Republicans or vice versa. So part of my role is to say, hey, did you hear this interview? Or I do look into the concerns. Sometimes I feel like the perspectives maybe have been sort of weighted towards one side or the other. So I did a column once. So part of my role is to write a column. That's part of the transparency. So I did a column once explaining, well, you haven't heard a lot of Republican voices on this particular issue because NPR has been trying to get Republicans to come on and they've declined to do the interviews. You can only talk to people who will talk to you. Sometimes it's just that people haven't heard actually all of the varied coverage.
And how has the tone of the comments changed over time, particularly in the Trump administration era?
I would say that there was a big change a couple of years ago. I think that's because people are very passionate about their politics these days, and I think we've become more polarized. That has certainly changed the tenor of the communications to our office. We try to sort of look and listen to all the complaints that come in, even if they're not particularly civil. We don't tend to answer emails that use abusive language, but if it's just a rant, sometimes even those rants sort of contain valid points of view, and people are just being very passionate about explaining it that way. So we try to look into it, but yeah, I would prefer going back to the more civilized tone of conversation, yes.
And what obstacles or challenges do journalists face in covering President Trump? He has said repeatedly that he feels that he's been covered unfairly by the press.
I think it's a challenge because it feels as though there's a goal to discredit the journalism, right? So in this era, I think when you have someone sort of so high profile who's saying that there's a lot of untrustworthy news out there, I think you have to really double down on your standards and say, okay, we're going to have everything buttoned down. We're really going to work at corrections. We're going to work at being very transparent again. We're going to label opinion. So one thing that NPR has done a lot in the past couple of years is being much clearer about what is opinion content. NPR doesn't do a lot of opinion content, but it does some. So labeling, okay, is this an opinion or is this fact-based journalism?
How is public media different?
I've been impressed since I've been working inside NPR as opposed to outside at the care with which they approach these issues. They have a publicly posted code of ethics, an ethics handbook. The standards editor makes every effort to ensure that folks pay attention to it. He works very closely with the newsroom to instill what they call a culture of journalism, with the member stations and inside the newsroom itself. And I think there is a serious care taken to the quality of the journalism. Look, it's we're all human and sometimes mistakes get made, but I've been impressed with the attention to detail that they do pay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.